What is going on, everyone? Chris with Journos, Comics, and Pop Culture. Today, we are counting down books 5 through 1 out of the top 10 Avengers keys to invest in right now. This is part 2 in a 2-part video series. If you haven't caught the first one where we counted down 10 through 6, definitely go check out that video as well. Before we get into the books, if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please take some time to do so. Check out all the awesome links below, including how to become a Patreon member either via Patreon or YouTube. Also, check out my link to my official Journos Comics merch, and also the link to our comic book canon YouTube channel is below. Go sub us over there. We have live shows every Friday night. Now, of course, I do want to give a big thank you and shout out to today's sponsor, the Otis app. I'm going to get into talking about a couple of the books, but in the middle of the video, I'm going to pause for 2 minutes and talk a little bit about the Otis app. I definitely encourage you guys to listen and check that out. So this is the criteria for these books today. We're going to talk about current fair market value, all right? We're going to look at fair market value from 5 years ago, and then we're going to look at plus minus gain or loss. And the books with the highest gain are going to be the lowest on the list. So that number one book is going to have the highest gain over these last 5 years. So if you all are ready, so am I. Let's get in to book number 5. And that is Avengers number 221. This book is where She-Hulk joins the Avengers. Let me tell you something. This book and a few of the other ones that are on this list have caught fire as of late. Let's look at these numbers right here. Current CGC 9.8 fair market value sitting at $184. 5 years ago, $63. That is a 192% increase in value. That's doing big things. All right. Average raw, $16 though. Now let me, as I always do, talk about average raw. This is an average of all the raw books that sold, regardless of grade. So it's a bit skewed. It's not a reflection of any specific grade, but I always say it shows that you could probably get this book in some grade around that $16 mark. But here's the thing. This book just had a high sale raw of $50. $50. Man. So here's the thing. Why is this book on the list? She-Hulk coming into the MCU. There's been a lot of hype around She-Hulk. I do believe that's what's allowing this book to see such increases already as of late. And if we actually see She-Hulk either A, team up with the Avengers, or B, actually become part of a new Avengers team, because we know Cap's gone, Iron Man's gone, so forth. Well, Cap's not gone. We have Falcon taking the Cap mantle. Steve Rogers is gone. You all know what I mean. I absolutely think this book is going to continue to increase in value. But again, as I do in all of my videos, before I talk about any more of these books, I'm not telling you to buy these books. If you have love for the books, if you have interest in the characters and you're willing to take the risk, go ahead and make sound decisions and do what you want to do. If you have none of those things, then don't buy them. They might not be for you. I'm here to present you data, facts, and a bit of my own personal opinions. So again, if you can still find this book on the cheap, and here's the thing, with a lot of these like early 80s Avengers books, dig through your back issue bins at your local comic shops. You never know what you could still find if you could find these books priced, for even $10 or maybe under, depending on the condition. You never know. But again, if you can find this book in a high grade for under $20, I personally think that that is a decently sound investment. All right, we are moving on to number 4, and that is Avengers number 185, another book that's really been on fire, obviously because of WandaVision. This is the origin of Wanda and Quicksilver, all right? But what else happens in this book? Wanda encounters the Darkhold, just like how we saw happen in WandaVision. So, of course, a lot of things Darkhold have been getting hot as well. Again, this is another one where we had a high raw sale of $50 recently. But let's look at these numbers. Current CGC 9.8 fair market value, $313. 5 years ago, $105. That is almost triple in value. That's a 198% increase. That's big. Average raw sitting at about $21. But just like I just said, look, You never know. Dig through those beans. You might not know what you'll be able to find. Look, we have a lot at stake here with Wanda and with the Darkhold. And this is an Avengers book. It might not necessarily be speculation based on a new Avengers team in the MCU, but we know that whatever's going on with Wanda is going to carry out for the next couple of years. And I feel the same thing with the Darkhold. I think the Darkhold is an entryway for so many new things that we're going to see in the MCU, and that's not going away anytime soon. So again, a lot of spec around these books. I feel like this one can keep getting hot. Will it have ebb and flow and maybe stagnate sometime down the road? Hey, you never know. Ebb and flow is natural within any healthy market. So let's move on though to book number 3. All right, talk about what can the MCU do with a new Avengers team, and we're looking at Young Avengers number 6. This is the first appearance as Cassie Lang, as she takes the mantle of Stature. Kate Bishop, though, also wears the Hawkeye suit for the first time in this issue, although she is not called by the Hawkeye name. I do believe that takes place in Young Avengers issue 12, if I can remember off the top of my head. Let's look at these numbers. Current CGC 9.8 fair market value, $405. 5 years ago, $127. What is that? That's a 219% increase. Like I said, these increases are going to keep on increasing as we get lower on the list. So this book has been doing big things. Average raw, $70. That's average, guys. It's average. I do believe, if I remember off the top of my head, I think there was some high raws going for over $200. Don't quote me on that. I'm not looking at those numbers right now. But again, this is the book that's hot. Did you miss the boat? Of course. But here's the thing. Here's the thing with Young Avengers. And the more money you put into a book, the more risk you're taking on, right? So say you go and buy a decent grade of this book for, say, $130 right now. Maybe it's not near mint, but maybe it's a very fine. You get one for $130. All right, it's a newer book. It's a modern book. Maybe nothing happens with the Young Avengers. We don't know. I'm being hypothetical here. That book can take a loss. It could start maybe stagnating, slowing down, over the next few years if we don't see something formulate. That's a risk you're willing to take. But here's my thing. We already know that Cassie Lang and Kate Bishop are in the MCU. We already know that Kate Bishop is basically probably taking the mantle of Hawkeye in the Hawkeye TV series, all right? Cassie Lang, we don't really know what's going on with her, but we do know we have a recast. Most likely, I think we're going to see her take the superhero mantle of Stature, whatever it may be. And then you have all these other characters involved that have been showing up in the MCU as well, being sprinkled around. So you got to really gauge all these things and have your ear to the news and the media and see what kind of casting announcements are going on, or listen to press releases, listen to what the executives and Kevin Feige are saying, the writers involved and the teams and everything, to say, okay, I can sit here and make a educated hypothesis to say this could be a very strong investment. All right. Young Avengers, personally, I'm definitely hopeful to see the Young Avengers team in the MCU. So, all right, everyone, we have 2 more books, but before we get into the top 2 books, I am going to take just a couple minutes to talk about today's sponsor, the Otis app. All right, everyone. So you asked, what is Otis? Otis is a stock market for cultural assets where almost anyone can buy and sell shares of rare collectibles, sneakers, and art, and of course, comic books. They have over 100 rare items to choose from and add new assets every single week. So check this out. This is how it works. First, you got to download the app and sign up for free to follow the weekly drops. You can then buy shares of the latest drops directly from Otis, or you can buy shares from past drops from other Otis members. You can then earn a potential return by selling your shares to other Otis members, or if Otis sells the underlying asset for more than the price at which you bought your shares. That is a way to where you can earn that potential return on investment. So let's go ahead and look through some of the comic books that they have listed. You guys can see all kind of blue chip keys right here. Let's go over a couple. How about this amazing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1? You guys get to look at last 6 months. You can see that there's been an increase of $6.25. It gives you trading stats, 52-week high, and so forth. You can also go in and learn more about the book. It gives you details about the comic book itself. It gives you recent news. So if there's any speculation going on because of, live action or cartoons or whatnot. All right, let's go ahead and look at a second book. Let's pull up my grail, my personal grail, Amazing Spider-Man #129. Right now, you can get shares at $33.33. That's up about 33% in the last 6 months. Again, you can see highs and lows, and then going into the details of the book, the highlights of the comic itself, and of course, recent news. There's definitely some speculation going on with Punisher in the MCU right now for sure, and of course, all the Spider-Man news. So you guys can see exactly how you can earn those potential returns. Now, the good thing about this sponsorship is that you all can sign up with the Otis link that is in the description below, and you can get your first share free when you fund your account, and of course, terms apply. So I highly recommend signing up, getting that first share for free, and at least checking it out. This is a good opportunity for all of us that enjoy investing in comic book. All right, now let's get into these top two. Coming in, #2, Avengers #227. This book has been on fire. This is the second appearance of Monica Rambeau, and it's where Monica Rambeau officially joins the Avengers team. Boy, anytime I talk about Monica Rambeau, you guys are going to hear me. I am just absolutely loving what they're doing with the character in the MCU. I can't wait to see her in the Marvels film. I hope to see her in the Secret Invasion TV show. I'm very hopeful for that. Let's look at the numbers of this book. Current CGC, 9.8 fair market value, $250. 5 years ago, $44. Basically just a little over the cost of what it would cost you to get it slabbed. What is that? That's a 468% increase in value. Wow, mind blown. Average raw, about $18. So again, maybe you could find a decent mid-grade for that. I do believe there was a high raw that hit over $50 for this book recently as well. But look, anything Monica Rambeau right now is really on fire. And I have at least one copy. I think I have a couple copies of this book. I probably didn't pay any more than a couple dollars. Maybe I even found it in the dollar bin. I don't know if it's near mint. But again, it just goes to show you, for me, there's a huge market out there. I mean, this is technically still a later Bronze Age book. There's a market right now for Bronze Age books for two reasons. One, they are getting older and older, and people are holding on to them more and more. And you have a lot of things happening in the MCU that correlate with characters or storylines that were going on in the Bronze Age. And the demand is exceeding the supply right now. And what do I always say about supply and demand? Supply has almost nothing to do with print run, because it's all about what's on the market at any given time. So if you have X amount of books on the supply at a given time and demand exceeds it at that point in time, it's going to continue to drive the value of those books up. So I'm looking forward to everything Monica Rambeau continuing to increase in the near future. Like I said, I can't wait to see her again in the MCU. All right. You have all sat through 9 books just to get to #1. And the numbers on this book are just blowing my mind. A lot of you may know what book this is. It is one that is just, like I said, caught fire. And that is Young Avengers #1. This is the first appearance of Kate Bishop, Wiccan, Iron Lad, Patriot, Hulkling in that Young Avengers team. Let's look at these numbers. Current CGC 9.8 fair market value, $1,144. This is, oh my gosh, 5 years ago, $63. Wow. That is a 1,716% increase in value. Can we take a moment? Can we take a moment? Wow. Absolutely wow. Look at this number of average raw, $291. And again, that's an average raw. I can't even tell you what the high raw sale has gone for. But this thing is doing things. And you got to look at this book. And again, you ask yourself, you look at all these modern keys that have blown up recently. Ultimate Fallout 4, Edge of Spider-Verse 2, Young Avengers, #1. Can this book hold its value? And I say, yes, it can. That's my, if I run for politics, that's my vibe that I'm going to be. Anyways, I mean, honestly though, I do believe it can. I do. Ebb and flow, again, absolutely. Just like I talked about for issue #6, we know that these characters are in the MCU. We had Patriot sprinkled there in the Falcon and Winter Soldier show. All right. We know that there are so many things being built up to bring this team on. I absolutely think it's inevitable. Now, will the Young Avengers be that next, franchise film that brings together an entire MCU phase? I don't think so whatsoever. I don't think it's going to be the Avengers films that we've seen over the last 13 years. I think there's going to be a different Avengers team that follows that trend, or quite honestly, it might not even be Avengers team at this point. But I have a feeling it's still going to be circled around Avengers, just because of how the MCU was built. That it's good marketing and branding to keep that cohesiveness going. But I see the Young Avengers team being its own film, a smaller level film, not a build up to a big bad guy, or you can even have a build up to a Young Avengers Disney Plus TV show. I think that can absolutely work as well. And then maybe we could see some of the Young Avengers team show up in that big, Avengers film event. So those are my thoughts on this book. Look for possible ebb and flow, always in a healthy market. But people, when Ultimate Fallout 4 hit over $1,000, people were like, oh, it's peaked, it's gonna cool off, and it's been hitting $3,500 over the last month. So I can't predict the future. Nobody can. But more and more people are paying attention to this hobby, getting involved in this hobby, enjoying the films and the TV shows, and investing their money in this hobby. And demand is booming, and supply just cannot keep up. And I've said this before, more and more people are holding on to their books. And when you look at the 9.8s, 9.8s really have nothing to do with print run as well, because a 9.8 demands its own demand based on its own supply. Okay, there could be a 50,000 print run, but if there's only 2,000 9.8s on the census, that's a very small supply. You got to understand that. So I personally don't see this book slowing down. Only time will tell. So much goodness with Avengers books. There's so many more books that I could have put on this list. Let me know what you all think in the comments below. How many of these books do you have? And how many other books do you think that you would have liked to see on this list? All right. So again, thank you all for watching this top 10. But as always, before I go, I got to give a big, big shout out to all of my members of the channel, starting with my Patreon members. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel each and every month. And again, I always say every dollar, every dime that I get from my memberships, I put back into my channel one way or the other. So to each and every one of you, I thank you so much. For those that are interested in possibly supporting the channel via Patreon, that link is below. It's only $3.99 a month. I do have another more affordable option as well, and that's becoming a member via YouTube. And again, thank you all to my YouTube channel members for supporting month after month. That's only $1.99. All you have to do is click that join button below to see what kind of perks you get and to sign up. So again, to all of my members, thank you all so much. All right, that's the video for today. Again, big thank you to today's sponsor, the Otis app. And thank you all for watching. Be well, and until next time.